www.youtube.com/TAPKAC. Chris is Hungry, a show involving cooking and other things. Episode 16, second portion of 2, Spaghetti and Sauce. All materials, including music, monologues, and artwork by Christopher D. Hampton at Facebook, TAPKAC Chris at Twitter. Reelin' with Asia and BJ t-shirt, worn with permission of Asia and BJ. Thank you! Check them out. Hello folks, so yeah, this is the second portion. No, it didn't. No, this stuff did not cook for about 3 or 4 months, a few months before finally being ready. I just had to do the second portion later. So, as I said, as we all know, we're just having something plain and simple: spaghetti and sauce. We got spaghetti here. We have the sauce, which was a marinara sauce, and before adding said sauce, I grounded up a pound of chorizo sausage and then drained it of the grease and all other mucky muck, and then added the sauce and some spices, and so here we go. First we're going to, all the stuff that you see here was cleaned up just before turning the camera on, or maybe just about an hour before, so we got this nice colander here. And we're going to drain the spaghetti here. Just a little bit at a time. There we go. And give this a nice little shake right here. And finally, alright, and put that right there. So we have our spaghetti here, draining out. And let's get ourselves a nice plate. And this right here. And we're going to dish up some. Oh, hello. Now, as you can see, as per earlier video, I like my noodles short, so I use the short noodle style, because if you have long noodles and you break them in half, then apparently it's going to cause the apocalypse and all sorts of other bollocks. So there we go. Okay, and then gonna get some sauce on here. What do we put on a spaghetti? Marinara sauce. Hello, Ghost. And a little bit more there. And okay, and let's get some cheese on this. And with this knife, I'm going to cut that open. that down a bit. There we go. Slide it up like a big sleeve. And we're going to put that right there. And then gonna ground some of this cheese in here. Ah, yes, there we go. There we go, right. And that's good enough. So we're gonna put that right here in the empty pot. And we're gonna close that up. And then, so there we have it. Nice, plain and simple spaghetti sauce with some cheese. And you know, I've briefly mentioned this in other videos. Just kind of sometimes hinted at it. Sometimes I mentioned it briefly, but never really got into it. So, but in case you haven't noticed, or if I'm on the autism spectrum, and basically what I have is what was formerly known as Asperger's, but we're not using that term. Yes, I got the fax, and I got the email, and I got the postcard, and I got the skywriting and the smoke signals that people who are, shall we say, lightly on the autism spectrum, well, we're not saying Asperger's anymore. So it's the neurotype formerly known as Asperger's, or possibly autism light, or diet autism. Same great neurotype, just with fewer restrictions and limitations. And I didn't know about this until I met, you remember Miraji the cat, who's in some other videos? Well, I guess you might say his mama, one of my best friends, who, my best friends ever. Well, she's also on the spectrum, and she's the first person that even mentioned the very word to me. And at first I thought she said ass boogers, which I figured were toilet paper bits that stick to your behind, and no, she said Asperger's. But anyway, like I said, we're not using that term anymore. But now this was in my 30s, and when I first heard about this, and the reason why. The first time I'd even heard of any kind of autism was from the movie Rain Man, but I couldn't be filed under that because Rain Man, although he was able to count cards and he was able to memorize the phone book, he was pretty much incapable of doing anything else. And this came out after, you know, well, I'd been running my own show more or less for about a year, and you know, and even before running my own show, which is to say, going to a job every single day and waiting for the paycheck, paying the bills, paying the rent, and putting my own food on my own table, etc. Even before that, you know, I was traveling by buses and trains all around the Bay Area of, you know, the San Francisco Bay Area, and you know, so somebody who was, well, Rain Man wouldn't be able to have done that. So. But it was the first time many people had heard of the term autism, and other things, like certain quirks of mine. Now, being born with, well, when someone is born, they usually coast on the health of their birth parents. You know, like, for instance, you know, I have hyperthyroidism also. And hyperthyroidism, that's because, you know, I have only a fragment of the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is part of the endocrine system, and you know, it's part of the thing that helps it grow and properly, and so I coasted on this just fine until I was about 5, maybe 6. But then my speech started getting kind of slurry, and my, you know, the shine in my hair was, you know, kind of dull, and my skin was kind of grainy. You could, pretty much draw a picture and make it snow by scratching my arm, and I was, that while most kids at my age were, the doorknob on the door was right here. I was still over here, and as many doctors had said, well, he's just waiting for a growth spurt. Well, then finally somebody took some x-rays and said, oh, wait a minute, this guy has the bone density of a toddler. And so they took tests and found out, oh, I have hypothyroidism. So, with that hypothyroidism, they got me some synthetic thyroxine, which is, the chemical that the thyroid gland is supposed to make. And then I started catching up, and that's why I had to repeat the 3rd grade. Even though I had started school a year early in the first place, so everything kind of balanced out, more or less. So, I guess. Now, any other, shall we say, autistic quirks, like my mouth going out to the side, or my lack of eye contact, or my ears and eyebrows twitching like I'm tweaking, or whatever you want to call it. And also, when I'm paying undivided attention, I tend to shut off like C-3PO, kind of a, but, and so I was mistaken for not paying attention or not being completely oblivious to what's going on when I was actually giving my undivided attention. All these quirks were filed under, shall we say, side effects of the hypothyroidism, but not autism. And as I said, and fortunately, being able to, being able to read and being able to do, things that most kids of my age were able to do, they said, okay, well, he's quirky, so what? He's got hypothyroidism. Yeah, so finally, when I was years old, a friend of mine who is a behavior psychologist, she finally officially gave me the official diagnosis. Yes, I am actually on the spectrum because of this, that, the other, and the fourth, etc., and so on and so forth, ... And no, I didn't get any special prizes. I didn't get any like advanced parking or specialized parking or specialized seating at events. And and nobody got any free toaster oven for that just one more. But I did, however, finally understand why people look at me funny. Why is it that when within a few minutes of my hanging around with anybody, I can, if they don't directly go, then but I can sense it's going on. It's like, what is it about me that makes you do that? Well, I finally understood, and especially when I first started making videos where I'm just hanging out casually. Now I see myself on video where I'm performing music or singing to an audience. That's all fine and dandy, but just hanging out like I'm doing right now. Oh my God! The first time I saw what everybody else saw, and I had almost a nervous breakdown. But anyway, yeah. So that's how long it took for me to finally understand that I was on, the spectrum. And if anybody has a problem with my quirks, well, that's your problem, not mine, pal. As anybody knows, I am very, very fascinated with Ireland, or as I call it, after my visit, the Irelands. The way I treat it, no, and it's not a disability, it's not a handicap, it's just else. Like for instance, in mention of Ireland, I've been to Shannon, I've been to Tipperary, Shannon, Tipperary, Clonmel, Waterford, Youghal, Cork, Dublin, etc., and so on and so forth. Belfast, and those are all mutually exclusive cities, but there's a certain commonness that that you don't realize until you get to Belfast, Northern Ireland, or Ulster if you're Protestant, and and that, well, which has all the same things. It's on the same landmass. It's they speak the same. It's the same language, even if the accents change about every 27 meters, if not 9. Ditto for the Republic. But there's just within 5 minutes, anybody who's been to all the other cities and then finally gets to Belfast, they have that kind of. You just feel it in the air. You just feel it within the energy of everybody there. That you feel that. Wait a minute, where am I? Like a cartoon chase of somebody where they're chasing and they run so far out of the picture that it's all blank and they have to run back. Yeah, so it's elsewhere. So in mention of things like Rain Man, there's other TV shows and other movies that have mentioned that nowadays bring up, I guess, for some kind of awareness or some kind of introduction. The TV show Atypical, which I refer to it, Atypical. I do have to admit that kind of like, the main character of Atypical is played by the guy who played the son in the Marshall in the United States of Terra, which is more embarrassing than funny. And Atypical, well, I guess you might call it the United States of the Son of Terra. This is also more embarrassing than funny. And there are some times when just like, but I find myself, it's like, well, yeah, it's more embarrassing, and I'm haunted by quite a few embarrassing moments. If there's anything I really like that I mentioned, that, well, they don't even the show The Middle. That show does not even mention autism, but the youngest son, Brick, he is very smart. He always has his nose in a book, but he also has to take a special social skills class, and it's like he has his quirks, and everybody's just like, so what? Well, yeah, but he's smart. He's capable, and so therefore, let him go on. Just like other kids, and help him out where and there's some kind of help where there's anything to be, shall we say, addressed. Certain quirks of autism, repetitive behavior. Now, I like a basic template. I like the basic template of having a place to go to work, and I know exactly where to do what to do when I get there, and I know exactly how to do said assignments. And when it comes to food, well, it seems like I'm having the same thing every single day, but it's a different variety of it. Like, for instance, I usually have soup, but it's a different soup every day. And I have a different type style of chips or crisps, if you like. The same every day. And then I get to come home and have the good food. And let's see. By the way, I'm looking at notes here. So, pretend I'm answering questions if this was a live stream. So, what advice would I have to any parents or any other family members, or even if you are, wondering if you are on the spectrum? Well, let's see. Communication, just plain talk, is not always a straight line between A and B, and so let's see. like, I've never met somebody who is not, as they say, nonverbal, unless it was, somebody, someone who's hearing impaired or deaf, if you want to just, flat out say, so, like, I would suggest, like, speaking in, like getting a tablet, or maybe you use your phone, you know, you know, let's see, a lot of writing, a lot of notes, using emojis or typing out any sentences. Perhaps learn sign language, if because, as I said, I'm not sure if being those who are nonverbal are wishing not to speak, or if it's motor problems, but there are other ways to speak, just without having to actually use your voice box and, say words. You can always, sign language. There is also many arts. Like you could paint, like trying to see if they could paint or draw, or music. In my case, let's see, learning the piano and learning other instruments, and as many instruments as I possibly can, and listening to all sorts of music, whether it's punk or new wave or classical, to metal, to anything that punctuates a mood. And so that's one thing. And now there are some people who can, who they may say words, but it comes off very monotone, and some people might get some kind of flack from others because of the way they talk. So for that, I would suggest watch a lot of stand-up comedians, and especially spoken word, or as they say, spoken word people, because it's like learn to write a story, and learn to put some funny lines in there, or something quirky or silly. And when it comes to speaking, certain people I would suggest, Spalding Gray, and Henry Rollins, who personally I think is on the spectrum myself, but I'll get to that later. Now, when it comes to any kind of writing any messages, if you're going to read to your kids, and especially start reading at an early age, like during toddlerhood, even if it's the newspaper or anything, and don't just read, but show them the words that you're reading, so they can look at the words and possibly even read it themselves. And so, and as I mentioned about people who are and if you're on the spectrum, or if you're a parent or a family member and you found out that somebody's on the spectrum, it's no cause for alarm. It's not like, oh my God, my kid has autism, or my so-and-so has autism. He's been struck down. It's like, well, what do you call? There are many people who are on the autism spectrum who are people you look up to and didn't even know were. Like, for instance, David Byrne of the Talking Heads, Gary Newman, Dan Aykroyd, the Blues Brothers guy, and among many other things he's been, Ghostbusters, and let's see, Daryl Hannah, who we know from Splash and Clan of the Cave Bear, and both Kill Bill movies, and Roxanne with Steve Martin, and Sir Anthony Hopkins, yes, the guy from Silence of the Lambs, who is playing Dr. Lecter, and which is a complete contrast to the previous time I'd seen him, when he was playing Dr. Treves in The Elephant Man. Completely different personalities, but here's a guy with here's Sir Anthony Hopkins, a guy who's on the autism spectrum, playing these complete opposites and doing it brilliantly. And well, I know I'm speaking in my own case, only, and and I'm also just glossing over this. Perhaps there's going to be more videos on this because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have quite a few questions. But anyway, oh, one more thing actually. If you need to seek any kind of help for autism, whether it's your own or for somebody else, make sure that whoever you're seeking it from actually is from some kind of company that actually does have at least one person who's autistic, if not most of them, actual autistic representation, because there are some. I'm not going to say the name, but they claim to speak for autism, and no, they do not, because if they ever had anybody on the spectrum within their staff, it was a very, very, very brief time, and they even made a video once called, I am autism, and for about a minute and a half, I will do this, and I will do that, and it sounds like a horror movie for about an hour and a half, and it's just like, oh my god, it's a horrible thing. And then at the halfway point, after a very long 90 seconds, then the family members, oh, but we're gonna stand behind. So, you want to understand autism, or you want to understand I am autism from somebody who's actually on the spectrum and explains it brilliantly, more brilliantly than I'm speaking right now. Remember the jacket patches in the... Okay. The guy who made the jacket patches is on this jacket here. And he has many more here, and as a matter of fact, I have more patches, but I don't have a place to put them yet. But the guy who made these jacket patches, hopefully you can see this properly. Go to www.etsy.com/shop/Painted by Jordy. Type it as one word. Anyway, he made a very, very brilliant, proper version of I am autism. But it's not I am autism. It's I am autism. And here's the deal. And I'll be putting a link to it in the description below, and I'll also be putting a link to it at the end of this video. You'll have to click on it somewhere around here, I guess. But anywho, let me end this with some music. One, two, three. Three. check out the proper I Am Autism somewhere around here. Hope you're doing well.